In this video, let's talk about some challenges I ran into while trying to deploy the Mining Tools app onto the Flux network. If you're not familiar with Flux, Flux is Web 3.0 and it allows you to deploy decentralized applications or pretty much any application that you can think of that can be containerized in Docker onto a decentralized network. Flux has a community of decentralized nodes running all across the world on different people's computers, and they kind of use their own OS for that, and it gives you the flexibility for pretty much like one Flux a month. You can deploy pretty much any Docker container. You just have to get it whitelisted and you can get it up and running. So I decided to try to deploy the RetroMic mining tools onto the Flux network, thinking everything would go pretty smoothly, but there were some things I didn't think about up front. So let's get into that. First off, getting the Docker container whitelisted was very easy. If you're not familiar, the RetroMic mining tools can be installed on a Hive OS rig, can be installed on a Raspberry Pi, or it can just be installed pretty much anywhere that supports Docker. It can be Windows, that can be Linux, that can be a Raspberry Pi, any type of ARM device, pretty much anything. So that pretty much allowed me to seamlessly deploy it onto Flux. All I had to do was get the app whitelisted. So I jumped over to their GitHub. I updated their repository to get my app whitelisted. It was whitelisted probably within an hour or two. Happened very quick. So that was really nice to see. And then I proceeded to try to get it deployed. Ran into some issues with Google Chrome. For whatever reason, Chrome was not working right with the Zelcore app. And so I ended up switching over to Microsoft Edge, and everything worked great. I don't know why it wasn't working with Chrome. So went through the process, deployed the app, and right off the bat, one of the things I noticed was that you couldn't deploy it to one instance. There's a minimum of 3 instances you have to deploy to. So right off the bat, I kind of knew we were going to run into an issue. The mining tools uses a local database that gets deployed, and whenever you update any of your settings, add your rigs, everything gets stored in that database. And then you can, whenever you log in, it accesses that database. The profit switching runs off of all that data in that database. Well, when you deploy multiple instances of that database is not synchronized. I jumped over to the Flux Discord, asked them about this, and they said, oh, we have a solution that we're working through. I'll actually jump over and bring that up now. And that is this FluxShareDB repository. It's still kind of in the beta, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to build on their platform a way for you to include this in your essentially your deployed app. And what it is it's an interceptor. So you would do a normal database call. Right now this only supports MySQL, which we'll get into here in a little bit. That is causing some issues for me as well. Right now it only supports MySQL, but essentially when you do the database call, it intercepts it and it's going to distribute it to all the nodes that are running your app. So there's some significant configuration that has to be done to make that happen. Right now, it only supports MySQL, which is a big deal. Right now, I'm using LightDB, which is like a NoSQL database. LightDB is not supported by this. So I would have to essentially restructure the entire app to make it work on Flux. So that's probably the biggest drawback there is. Now, when we think about this further, there's also an even bigger issue, and that is with the profit switching itself. So the profit switching is built into the app. and the scheduler is built into the app. So if we deploy that on multiple instances, it's essentially going to try to run profit switching 3 times every 15 minutes or whatever would be defined. So under the model we're using, we really can't use Flux for this. Unfortunately, it's just kind of the way things are, right? We would almost have to say, you know, this is your active node and these are your passive nodes. Unfortunately, right now, we can't do that with Flux, right? We can't be having the scheduler run on multiple instances at the same time. So that's pretty much the big two drawbacks we're seeing at the moment that's preventing me from actually making this usable on the Flux network. However, I did go ahead and deploy it just to kind of see what it would look like. And if we hop over there, if you go to retromicminingtools.app.runonflux.io, the site is deployed. However, what you're going to notice is I'm already logged in here, but it's going to land you on one of, let's say, anywhere between 3 and 10 different instances based on how much it's load balanced and distributed across the Flux network. That means when you go in and you create an account, that account may or may not work the next time you log in, right? Because it's kind of round robining you to a different instance each time, which has a different database behind it. Your account may or may not be there. My recommendation at this point, if you do want to check it out and just kind of see how it works, kind of use the Hosted Mining Tools app as a demo environment, you can certainly do that. You can hop on over, can register an account, you can go through, you can set up your config, you can do whatever you want. Just know that it will profit switch, right? But it'll kind of be challenging to figure out if you need to get back in to modify settings. It's going to be a little bit tricky in that you're going to have to keep trying over and over again to get onto the correct server to log into your account. And keep that in mind. That's one challenging piece. So I would say right now it's good. I'm going to leave it up for 30 days. I paid for 30 days of hosting on Flux. So I'm going to leave this sitting out there. Everybody's more than welcome to hop over, create an account, try it out, do whatever you want to do. We can just log in real quick here. Oops, that's register. Let me log in. But once you log in, you can hop over to core configuration. You can plug in your API keys and your farm ID. And you can hop over and plug in your rig information, put your coins, put everything that you want there. Everything will work for you, and it will profit switch for you. Just know that the challenging part's going to be once it's set up. If you want to go in and tweak it, it's going to be it may be difficult to get onto that instance. If you're on a computer, you might have to open a couple incognito windows until you land on the server that actually has your account. So that's kind of the biggest thing going on right now with trying to deploy it to Flux. Didn't really work out. Hopefully they can figure out a solution for this. It's going to be really hard to deploy service-based apps like this, where we're running a web UI, but we're also running a backend service that's built off of a scheduler, and we need that scheduler to really be active-passive mode, where we need one active system up and running, and we need a bunch of passive nodes that if that active goes down, one of those passives will pick it up and begin processing, right? The database side, I can do that. Essentially what we would have to do, the other option we have, we could re-architect the scheduler side to use the database as a data store, log if a job's running or not, and not run it if it's already running. But then we gotta make sure with those stateful jobs that we're not just building up a queue and then it's running profit switching back to back to back. We definitely don't want to do that. So there's still, in my opinion, there's still a lot that needs to be worked out with decentralized hosting, whether it's on Flux, whether it's any other platform. This type of operation, I don't think, is going to serve well on those platforms. So if you need to use it, you can hop on over, check out the demo. If you want a stable environment to use, you can just use the hosted version that I have at retromike.net. That'll get you running perfectly fine. Shouldn't run into any issues there. It might be a little bit slow at times, but should definitely work out for you. And then, as always, the recommended install is definitely to install it on a Hive OS rig, on a Raspberry Pi, whatever it may be, a system that can be up and running 24/7 on your network. That way you're not sharing your API keys anywhere else. You're in control of everything up and running. You're in control of, updates, things like that. So just keep that in mind, and that's pretty much it for this video. Just kind of want to talk you guys through the challenges that we saw while trying to deploy this to Flux. And so we won't be moving forward with that. I'm not at the point where I really want to re-architect it just to get it up and running on Flux, when I know we're also going to have some issues with the schedulers. So at this point, recommended install still is going to be, please try to install it yourself on your own instances. You'll get full control over everything. If you're on a hosted environment, you don't have your rigs on your same network, you don't have another system that you can run it on, by all means, you can use the hosted platform at retromike.net.